Welcome to Technomancer's Business Made Simple. I'm James Kim.
I am Danz Holandez, today's co-host.
And I'm Erick Pangilinan
Of Naughty Dog. And for those in the audience who are unaware, Naughty Dog, and if you're unaware, that means you're probably not into video games at all. Naughty Dog creates some of the best-selling #1 video games of all time ever in the history of humanity. The most famous are
owned by Sony.
Owned by Sony.
Yeah.
And some of them are Last of Us. You may have heard of them. Last of Us, Uncharted, and Crash Bandicoot, and Jak and Daxter. And you were the art director. I was going to say lead art director, but something told me not to say that.
So anyway, Eric, so how big is your company?
So it's probably like 350 people.
So and you're the art director.
And I'm the art director.
So
and I've been there for 23 years. How
many of those 200, 300 report to you?
I have no idea. Whoever wants to.
No, the answer is...
So the art department is probably like 70 people. That includes texture artists, that includes modelers, that includes lighters, that includes foreground, and there's character teams, there's concept teams.
It's like there's a guy who just spends all day making trees. Is that right?
Yeah, we do have specialists that do trees.
Okay. When I say lead art director, what was going to make me say lead art director is when I played your video games, and I played them all religiously. Because you said sometimes send me a copy, but I would buy them anyway, even if you didn't.
Copy them.
I would buy them. I noticed, like in the credits, like in The Last of Us, which was beautiful, and then it has a name, creator, so on, so on. And your name came out the fourth. You were the fourth name in the list of credits.
Yeah, I mean.
So it must be pretty high up there.
Right. It's all like.
It's not a big deal. Anyone could have. My name is. This is your name in number 4 in a list of credits somewhere?
No, but we know who inspired Eric.
Yeah, that's right. I always call you late at night, and then like really crying in the bathroom.
You gotta kill a monkey or something.
Yeah, Danz, is that really how it should be? Okay, I'll do it.
Make some tears. It'll be on social media. But anyway.
We digress.
So, Eric, how did you got all the way there to one of the top game companies in the planet, making the top games of all time. Where did you start? You were born here in the Philippines.
That's such a big question.
Yeah,
I know.
All of us watching, we're actually like good friends, even when we're like this big, since like elementary.
Yeah,
so we kind of know each other, and then sometime before high school, like grade 6 in UPIS terms, Eric
left us.
Disappeared.
He gave us a middle finger while he left.
Never paid me back, and he went to the States. So maybe that's where we can start a story.
And then he kept. Then he'd rub it in and say, "I'm in the U.S. You guys are not." Yeah.
And I ended up in the U.S.
What year was this?
Oh my God, guys. I think it was like 80, it has to be like 84 or something. Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Did you want to move to the U.S.?
It's where your parents want to go, right?
Right, but you'd rather stay with us, right? If you had a choice, you would have stayed in the Philippines.
I'm just kidding. Now that I think about it. Yeah, no, it was, during that time, it was kind of like tough, right? And so, I guess my parents wanted to move and get, my dad got a better job offer out there. And so, so we took off, and then, life is hard when you start out in the States because your peso converts to dollars, and that's pretty much nothing,
Mm-hmm,
So new culture, new neighborhood, everything.
Yeah, so we were like dirt poor when we got out here. Yeah.
Did they tease you? Were you the new kid in school? Were they mean to you? Yes.
No.
Were they bullying you?
Actually, it was pretty cool. Like when you're in LA.
He did the bullying.
Yeah. Now, when you're in LA, there's a lot of Filipinos, so it's actually a pretty friendly environment.
So it's a nice support system.
And Filipinos tend to stick together, so it was pretty easy transition into the U.S.
There were a group of Filipinos there that you bonded with immediately, so that's why you stopped writing to us.
Exactly. I don't need you guys. I got better friends now. I got cooler friends now.
But while we were still in grade school, I knew you were always drawing. You were always drawing Marvel heroes, DC heroes, like doodling constantly all the time.
Yeah. Well, you know, I've always liked art, right? And and my mom, you know, she's a music teacher, she's a piano teacher and stuff. So she always pushed me towards the arts, you know. Tried to push me towards music, but you know, music never liked me. But I've always liked art and stuff. And you know, my dad is a computer programmer.
He is?
Yeah.
I actually did not know that.
He's a physicist too. He's also a mathematician.
Oh,
and
cool.
He has like 3 master's degrees.
So it's like
he's a crazy super nerd.
So one of your parents is like this genius of all these
One's
STEM
into
subjects.
That's
One's arts.
Yeah.
And then there's you.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like the stepchild somewhere there.
Maybe the perfect
By
confluence.
the way,
of things.
Eric has siblings.
Yeah.
So
With the brothers.
Yeah.
So
I've met them.
I don't know what that has to do with it.
No, I just mentioned it. Just in case people are wondering, he's not an only child.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, okay. So that was
Okay. Did they have a hard time where it wasn't easy for them also? The
I think
transition?
it was easier for them because they were younger.
So you never were there and never said regret. Said why don't we just move back? That never came to your mind.
No, because you know when you're a kid, you really don't have a choice, right? You just like go along with whatever's happening. And you know, it's like the kids are very optimistic. You know?
Well, maybe you guys, but my kids, when we moved back to the Philippines, my kids let me know that they.
Well, how old were they?
In Manila?
One was 7.
Really?
Yeah, and then he got to an age where after a few years he says, you know, I think I like it more in the Philippines now, but it took like a few years
For them to adjust.
before he like.
I'm sure there was that stage too.
Or maybe, but he was going to the U.S. maybe because that's the better place.
No, I don't think it was that. It's just like, you know, you just don't have a choice. You just accept it.
So you're more accepting of your fate. Maybe that's it.
Yeah. Because like when we arrived, we weren't, like you've been to my place in Philippines. I had my own bedroom, right? We had our cars.
Yeah.
It's a comfortable.
You were doing good.
Situation.
Doing good.
But when we moved to the U.S., we had nothing. I was sharing my twin size bed with my 2 other brothers. It was a shock. It was
okay.
It was an adjustment.
It was an adjustment. Yeah. So, but to us, it was like, well, this is our situation, and we just have to move forward with this. So.
And while there, you still kept drawing, pursued your art.
Yeah, I think something, I guess, that was I didn't notice when I was a kid is that my mom always put me into contests. Like she always raised me going into art contests.
Really?
Yeah, that's something I noticed, like hindsight, looking back, because that pretty much set the stage of how sort of I became like more competitive.
Do you think you were competitive? That's why she put you in those art contests, or you think you weren't and you became competitive because she put you those?
Became more.
Because like my mom kept on pushing me.
So say okay, there's an art contest, and then Eric joined.
Yeah, but to me it was just like a Saturday activity, so I would just do it. But then, sometimes I won't win, right?
Sometimes you won't.
Sometimes I won't. Sometimes.
So most of the time you win. Is what you're saying.
No, that's not true. I would win. I would win. I guess that's the point. You win and lose.
50-50?
But the thing is,
80-20? This is for the people listening.
I don't know. This is when I was a kid.
Can you suck in contest? Could you suck in contest when you're young and then still turn out the?
So how did it turn out? Let's say if you won, how did it make you feel? Did it help you?
Well, it added on to the confidence, right? Well, I wouldn't know validated, because what would you be validating? You're a kid.
Yeah, you're good at art.
It's like winning a soccer game. Does it add up to for you to be
like
exactly right? So that wasn't the only thing I was doing. I wasn't I was doing a lot of things. I was in soccer. I was in tennis. I was in all of these, and I was in art. I was in music. I was playing piano. So you didn't know. It was just that you were always out there competing or doing something that gives you awareness of where you are.
Okay.
So like if you'd lose, you'd have to look at who the winner was, right?
Right.
Sort of analyze
Figure
what
out why
made that
dude win.
exactly. So that's the point.
Or did that?
So that carried on to when I got to the U.S.
But
it made it easier in the U.S. because information was I guess propagated more.
Sorry, one quick question. When you were here, did you ever join art contests?
Yeah.
So
Even starting from the
so
Philippines.
even here, your mom was asking you, "Hey, Eric, join this one."
Yeah.
But what? Only art contests? Did she join you in chess competitions? Only art contests.
Well, because I like art.
What's it like? Sorry.
I like art, and I was already taking art classes outside of school.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so yeah, so I keep on taking art classes, and it's like for me, those are, it enriched my awareness of like how good am I, because I'd always so go to UP Fine Arts when I was still in like grade school,
Right.
and you would look at what good looks like,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
The fine
I
arts.
think that's important, because knowing what good looks like makes you aware of where you are, or makes you aware how sucky you are.
Or how
Maybe
far
how far off you've
How
got to
far
go
Yeah, how far off.
and what you have to strive for.
Exactly. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize. Like, because I review portfolios. I do all the hiring in Naughty Dog.
Yeah.
All the hiring. So
For the
you're
art,
pretty,
for the art.
pretty,
So-
pretty high up.
So I review all of the work, and I can see, like, some people are like, oh my God, like, don't you even turn on the internet and look and then compare your work to what's,
It's
right?
a proportion.
Yeah, and you're just like, well, can't you tell that your work is so far from what the industry standard should be?
But you've probably
right?
seen, like, going forward of that, you've probably seen some really good ones, I would imagine.
Of course I do,
There-
but my point is, to those people with the information that's out there, it's just a simple Google of like,
Yeah,
what should
yeah.
good look like?
Or what's the
And you don't
minimum
know that.
expectation?
Yeah, exactly. So majority is like that. There's a lot of people like that. So to me, when I was young, I would already know what would be the bar.
Okay. Speaking
Right.
of, what was your course? What did you study?
college?
Yeah.
College.
So that's pretty interesting. So throughout my life, there's always been this conflict, right? Because my dad is into math and
STEM
yeah,
subjects.
STEM subjects,
Yeah,
and
it is,
and they're
yeah.
trying to, and you're trying to like diss art, right? Because you even hear that right now.
Because it's fine art. It's
It's
not.
fine art,
It's
so
not
it's
STEM.
like- it's a hobby.
Yeah,
You shouldn't
yeah.
get into that. There's no money in that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
There's no money in that
That's kind of true.
silly
Some
thing.
people-
Yeah, that's
There's no money in being an artist.
being an artist.
Not so much
At
now.
that time,
At that time.
Even right now. But anyway, so and then my mom would just like, yeah, just let him do what he wants, kind of thing, and
Because she's a piano teacher.
yeah.
So, of
But,
course.
so for me, there was always that conflict.
Oh, and plus you said you didn't have as much didn't have as much resources. You kind of have to really decide very thoughtfully where you're going to go, right?
Yeah, but like old-fashioned parents, they're more like,
Or it's more
it
just
doesn't matter what you're good at, you're going to be this, or you're going to be one of these four.
what did your dad want you to be?
Let's be an engineer or programmer. So
like a doctor and lawyer, one of the.
no. I think for him it was more like, you're going to be a programmer because I'm a programmer, and then I can help you in math, and hopefully some of my genes actually went, or I'm actually your father. So
Were there a lot of
Yeah.
Breathe heavily.
a lot of heated discussions about that?
yeah, well, it's not really so heated. It's more like subtle that the art's great, but you can use that with your programming career.
Did you want to be a programmer though?
No.
You don't know. You
No,
don't know
no,
that.
I just want to
You
be a
don't know.
programmer.
But it was more, to me, what happened was that became like, let's say, my plan B.
Ah.
In the beginning,
You have
because
option.
I knew like, my dad can probably help me get into some of his connections in the thing, and then maybe I can like go in. And it always like, during that time, this was like 90s and stuff.
Yeah.
Programming was moving up. This was like before the internet, medium frame computers, PCs was just taken off.
Yes.
Windows was like on the horizon, So there was a lot of like, if you're into computers, you're going to be making mucho dólares, and networking was crazy. So there was a couple of paths, like trends that was like hot trends.
But mostly programming. It looks like art hadn't taken off yet at that point.
Yes. No. Well, art is taking off. Like in the next few years, because that was when, let's say, Jurassic Park came out. That was when Toy Story came out.
Okay.
Like during that time. And
So you got
no one's ever seen anything like that, right? But that was before I saw it.
So
right?
you got lucky.
Yes. Well, Yeah.
Perfect timing.
It is. Well, it depends. In that time, there's always opportunity, right? Like,
Yeah.
so you have, it's very confusing time. Same with web design. That was when internet was just spurting out and no one knows how to make a website.
Yeah, but everybody wanted one, but they didn't know how.
Yeah, exactly. So you'd hire this web designer, and he would do.
He would crank out.
Yeah, he would all that stuff, and you'd pay him like a lot of money now.
Yeah.
So there was different trends. It was a really confusing time because you're just like, which one will I take?
Right.
And it seems like, during that time you're also trying to figure out, am I going to make money here? Because like someone like you're paying college money, and you're like, you don't have a lot of money, so you're like thinking practical or what would make you happy, right?
What did you take? What did you end up taking?
So I decided to change my major.
What was your original major then?
And my original major was art.
Ah.
My original major was art.
So you had enrolled in art already?
So you were in the
Yeah. Because
what kind of art was this? Drawing?
No, at that point it was just general art.
Okay.
Like you would get in because when you enter college, you can state a major, right? But it's like you have to take all the prerequisites.
Is it like fine arts, equivalent to
Yeah,
fine
it's
arts
fine. It's fine.
in Manila?
Yeah.
In UP?
Okay.
And another thing that was hot back then was graphic design, and that's what I chose. I chose graphic design.
So you moved to, so that was under art.
That was under arts. The first 2 years
Graphic
I was
design under
taking. Yeah, it was specialization in graphic design.
Okay.
Was the graphic design back then on the computer or was it manual?
It
But
was,
I mean on paper.
It's moving towards computer, but the school was very traditional.
Mm.
So we were still doing like
The T-square.
Yeah, well, the
Analog
T-square
stuff,
and like the type that you buy with the paper, and then you rub it down.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah, and then
transfer stuff.
and then you take pictures with a stat camera, and then it was very manual.
But they were starting to transition.
Yeah, that was the moment when the good schools were sort of teaching new.
So
new
you
software.
came in at a very lucky time because if you had,
very exciting time.
You were at the crossroads of
Yeah.
the old
So-
and the new.
So reference point like Photoshop was 1.0.
yes, at that time.
Adobe Photoshop was 1.0.
Well,
Adobe
That's-
Illustrator
that's-
was
You can
1.0.
date the
PageMaker was
do
1.0.
you realize if you had gone to college 2 years earlier, you would be totally obsolete
Yes.
of all
Yeah.
the.
Yes. And
Well,
you left college at that
No,
time it started.
I think I was still in that timeline. I was actually, my teachers told me literally,
Yes,
this computers thing.
it's a
This is a fad. This is a fad. This is not going to stay. Stay to your stat cameras.
Stay analog,
Stay to
man.
all this stuff. This is like too expensive for anybody to
No one's
afford.
gonna buy it.
No one's
It's gonna
gonna
be
buy
gone in
it.
3 years and all.
I didn't go to good school because I can't afford the nice schools. So
Okay.
so what I did was I made friends with the people who went to the nice schools, and I went to lunch there, and I just hanged out there, So
Did you attend one of those
I would sit in,
You would sit
Yeah,
in.
I
You
would
would
sit in,
you
I
would
would-
befriend them.
friend them,
Go
I would
there.
borrow
sit
their
in.
library card, and then I would go into the library and stay there all afternoon.
Oh
and
my!
then I would.
So you're very resourceful, man.
You went.
You're
used
very
people.
resourceful.
You
You're these
Yeah.
people, resourceful. Slash.
Yeah.
were you the? How many of your peers do you think were doing this from your
I don't
from
know.
your school?
But,
So you're probably the only one, as far as you know.
Yeah, I didn't have a car. This school was on top of like a big hill, and everyone had a car because you'd need the tuition of the
Just
school
to
was
get
so
up.
expensive.
Yeah.
I would take a 2-hour bus from my house to that school, walk up that hill with like my art men,
Yes.
like probably like 3 times a week, and just stay in the library,
Just
stay in
hang
the
out.
gallery, and just hang out.
So while your other peers were probably going to bars, drinking,
Yeah.
or watching movies with their girlfriend, you were commuting 4 hours both ways to another school
Yeah.
to hang out there,
Man, you're such a
attend
nerd.
other
I
classes.
was the rat in
And
that
then-
school. Yeah.
What drove you? What drove you to do this? Because that's a lot of drive for.
Yeah. Well,
you didn't have to, but you did it.
Yeah.
Is it because you said the art? You said your art contest. You said you saw like what your competition was, what
Yeah.
you had to be. Were you trying to push yourself to another level, or
Yeah, well,
What
because
was
I
your
know.
motivation for doing all
Well,
of
because
that?
I know I was going to graduate in 2 years, and I'm not going to be ready.
you knew?
Yeah, because you
Because you
can see-
compared with art with the
yeah, with
con-
the real school.
with the
All of
con-
the students were studying all the computer stuff.
Yeah. He knew
And
the
then
standard,
I'm using this dinosaur technique that I know
The
is not
T-square.
gonna- yeah,
It's gonna be
yes,
gone in-
that's going to be gone in 2 years when I come out, and my school's not teaching it because the teachers don't believe. They're not teaching the right software. They were teaching software, but it was like software that's already obsolete.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
that was true. Like because people, it's easy now to know which software to use because it's already consolidated, right?
Yeah, it's standardized.
The winner came out.
Yeah, yeah,
But back then there was like 10 choices,
yeah.
and you didn't know which was the right page maker, page layout to.
I remember PageMaker. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, there was Quark Express.
I remember Lotus. And,
You remember
well,
Quark Express?
Yes, I did.
Quark Express. Everyone thought Quark Express was
Would
going to
be
be
like
the forever software. It's gone, right? Photoshop wasn't the only thing there. There was a lot of like Image Styler, there was Leaf, there was all of these Alias, Eclipse. There was so many
I
software.
remember that.
Like
What's some of them?
Adobe Illustrator. There's Freehand, there's Corel Draw, there's all of these
Oh
other.
yeah, we had Carl Draw before.
Yeah.
So that's good. So you actually figured out, you kind of laid out your own career path before you graduated by preparing yourself by doing all of those things.
Wait.
Years ahead, right?
I have to add one more. Ask one more before we leave the subject. How about computers? Because you said you sat on the lecture, you attended, you went to the library. But how about the equipment? How did you get hands on the software and the computer?
Did they have like the
computer
nice,
labs.
Did they have the nice computers at those schools?
Computer labs.
You went to the computer labs in the
my
school?
friend.
You just walked in?
No, like I would be like.
You know what? They probably saw him so often they thought he was a student.
My friend, you can take people in the computer lab. You can be like, hey, you want to come? And
It's
then
my buddy
you come
here.
in. Yeah.
Right.
And then you pull a seat, and then you guys would figure out
Yeah.
you see the problem back then. This is the problem back then.
Yeah.
You could copy software, right?
Yes.
But you couldn't find the manuals.
Oh yeah, because it's not
Yeah.
Google didn't exist.
Printed manuals? There?
You couldn't buy the books.
Yes,
It wouldn't
yes.
exist.
Yes, yes.
You can't buy like Maya for Dummies.
Yeah, yeah.
That didn't
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah.
You can't find Illustrator for Dummies. None
Yeah.
of that exists.
Yes.
There was nothing like that. You
Yeah.
couldn't Google because internet wasn't
It
there.
wasn't
Yes,
there yet.
yes.
Yeah.
So you had to figure things
So
out.
you could pirate the software, which I didn't do. I heard
Which
people do that.
piracy is
So
wrong.
piracy
It
is
is
bad.
wrong. Do
Never
not
do
pirate.
that.
Yeah.
Pirate.
Uh,
Okay.
But when you get it, and it's like DOS, right? So
Yeah.
you're like a blue screen with, you're trying to poke around how to do things.
And sometimes the commands are like Control X,
Yeah, and there's
C.
some-
Then you have to
Shift
yeah.
So you
Different
wouldn't
commands.
learn it. God, this must be so boring for a lot of non-nerds. So anyways.
Kids are lucky these
Yeah,
days.
kids are lucky
Look
these
at
days. You
this,
don't
yeah.
have to like listen to all these.
Yeah, get off my lawn.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyways, so that was the major problem. So I was able to get to software, but I'm like, crap.
Now what?
Right.
Yeah. So I needed to find a lab where they had the software and the manuals,
Hmm.
borrow that book, make copies of it, or learn it in the lab
Right,
with my
right.
friend.
Actual.
And so that was when there was like that weakness in the armor, and I started doubting myself. And then my plan B
Computer programmer.
became my plan A.
Plan A, man.
And so at that point, I sort of like doubted my future, and I listened to my dad. And then at that moment, I switched.
What year was this?
I forgot. But anyways, it was probably like my third year in
College.
college.
Okay.
91 then.
Because that was when I'm starting to take art classes, right? And then one of them is like an inspirational talk. And then it actually de-inspired me. And I was just like, wow, I am going to be so broke.
Wait, but so when that art director said her salary, she meant it as an inspiring
Yeah.
message.
Yeah, which was probably the industry standard.
At
you
the
know?
time.
Yeah, it was probably industry standard. And, that's just how much they made. Because during that time, graphic design was pretty sad.
So it looks like you had the skills already at that age, because if that was industry standard and you could make way more working
I'm not
part-time.
making way more. I'm making
Uh,
less, but
but-
it's close.
But it's way more if you consider the fact you only work part-time. But you switch
So
to
I switched.
programming.
And then what happened?
He hated it.
So I switched, and it was pretty miserable.
He hated it. See, he hated it.
It was the hardest B I've ever worked for. I would like get like a 95 on my test out of 100, but then get like a C. And I'm like, how does that happen? Because everyone else got 99.
It's a bell curve thing.
Oh, it's a bell curve.
Yeah.
They grade in a
And
bell curve.
So it's like looking back, it was like, wow, I can continue this and be a B programmer, or I can go back and then ace this. But
Because
you know,
because in art you were an A student.
all the time. It was
Oh.
easy. It was easy, right? But like, it took me 2 years to realize.
No, but I don't know that there might be a little. I mean, it obviously worked out, but there might be a slight flaw in the logic, because if you're top A, but the salary, the ceiling is only this much, and the programmers were like taking off, even if it's a B, the ceiling would be higher. Oh, but you were miserable.
I was miserable.
Okay.
But, so if you do a rewind, the reason you changed courses was because you figured out that in terms of financial,
Yeah, it was mostly financial. Like I want to make money. I was like, I don't want to.
there's nothing wrong with that, kids. But
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. But you should be happy with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Both.
I think what was scarier for me is that I couldn't see myself doing this. I mean, there was an idea of doing this,
Okay.
but I just can't see myself happy doing it.
Okay.
Well, the promise of making oodles, gazillions of dollars, it was there, but you couldn't really imagine yourself
Yeah, it
doing
was
that day in, day out, right?
Yeah, sure. Well, I just couldn't imagine, like, there was nothing creative about it for me, you know?
It's very creative.
It is very creative.
I'm a programmer. You switched back to art after.
No. So the point in the B. So what I learned in that, looking back, was that, you know, you have to do something that you're happy about, you know, and so that was pretty key.
Right.
And after that switch, going back, I just stopped caring about money, you know, and that was a critical point, because it's like, this money thing isn't making me happy right now. Like, I have to make a decision of what I can imagine myself doing in the future, you know. And also I stopped caring what my parents thought, you know.
I can sense something behind that, but okay.
Yeah. But the thing about that is like, I'm gonna do this 150% or
Commit to
200%.
it.
Yeah. Basically, you know, so my advice to that is, don't have a plan B anymore.
I've heard that. I've heard a lot of very successful people.
Yeah.
And it's some of them because they abandoned their plan B. Of course, I hear the successful ones, like you.
Yeah, so because I actually did the wrong thing, I went with plan B. I'm the poster child for like doubting yourself, went to plan B and then went back. Because the thing about plan B is that once you create plan B, you immediately doubt yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, and now that you doubt yourself, you're now going to start putting resource in thinking about your plan B.
Okay.
And you're starting to justify it until suddenly it becomes your plan A, like what happened to me.
Right.
But if you didn't have that, then you have no more option
But to
succeed on this.
It's like Napoleon burning his ships.
Was it Napoleon?
There are several people.
Pizarro did that.
Several people. I know Napoleon did it too.
Yeah, a bunch of people did that. They
Yeah.
just burned
Burn the
ships
ships, and then that way they can't escape.
So that was what I was going to say. I burned my ships.
Yeah.
You know, and that was when it suddenly opened to me what I wanted to do. And that was when all of these Pixar stuff came in. That was when I saw Jurassic Park and all of Toy Story, all of those Pepsi-Cola or Coca-Cola commercials of those polar bears and stuff.
Did that come out before you graduated?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And then
So that became clear to me that that's what I wanted to do.
That's the future.
And then that's when, you know, your brain starts formulating.
So you
how to
kind of
get
figured out, that's good, because you know what you wanted to do. So
Yeah.
the plan would be how to get
that. So the problems were,
Again, it's all like good timing that they came out. You saw the commercials.
yeah, but I'm not the only one who saw that, right?
Right. No, I'm not minimizing. I'm just saying that if that had come out maybe the
like 2
Yeah.
years earlier.
No,
Yeah.
but you also there was other things that was pretty enticing too at that time, like
Okay.
web design, for example. A lot of people who were like, let's say, if I didn't go to computers and I stick to graphic design, web design would be the most attractive thing. Finding out how to do web was like key because that looked like the next medium for graphic design, you know, which it is.
It is. It is.
So,
One of the mediums.
you know, like, and animation in computer graphics was actually so far from where I'm at, from art.
Right.
It looks like it, but it doesn't look like it's the same branch to take. Because computer graphics at that time was like animation, which is more film, you know, and it's actually closer to computers, you know, than it was for art.
Okay.
You know, and art was more into illustration and painting and all of that. So it wasn't a direct link. Like if you went back to art, you're going to be in computer graphics.
So there wasn't a bridge yet.
Yeah, it wasn't like that yet. Because all of those, it was a question who would go there, right? And I guess like the luck part of that was that when I went to computer science, the computer science people were more excited about it than the art people. Because the art people, when I go back there, they were actually afraid of it. So computer science, what was great about it was that everyone, they had the money because they had the computers, right? They had all the CPUs, and they were actually very excited about how to create this.
Yeah.
Because it was very technical,
Yes,
right?
yes.
But they weren't artists,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
They didn't have the eye.
yeah, so they were the ones actually doing the renderings. They were because they had the Unix boxes and stuff. But the problem was like they needed someone to lead that, an artist to lead that, you know. And I happened to meet one of my professors.
This is still in college.
This is still in college, so I was still I didn't totally switch from graphic design. I didn't leave computer science. I made it my minor.
Yeah.
You know, so that gave me access to like the computer labs and all of that stuff, and I was still maintaining relationship with professors.
And it probably gave you enough also technical background because there's a little bit of technical aspect to it.
There's that intimidation factor because a lot of artists were not comfortable with computers.
Yes, I know many of them.
And so that gave me the confidence to actually like you know figure out computers because I was fixing computers too at that time. That was like my thing, and so I was like a computer geek too.
Yes.
So my professor helped me get funding to create a computer lab because the problem back then is even though you want to do these things, computers were super expensive. It was
How big were they at that time? Like
it's probably the same size, you know. It's like those things, but the problem was it cost like $100 for megabyte.
Yes, it was
Not
just very
gigabyte.
expensive.
1 megabyte.
Yeah,
One
yeah.
megabyte.
Very
And
expensive.
the common configuration was 4 megs. You know, 4 megs.
That's already high powered. My book.
Yeah, and in order to display 16 million colors, you need a $1,500 graphics card just to display
those
16
colors,
million colors,
Yeah,
which is now like on every.
It's like
routine.
Your phone has more colors.
Yeah, and then it was just stupid expensive. And if you were to do professional computer graphics, you need approximately like $80,000. That
Wow.
was a Silicon Graphics Unix box. And then you need a $40,000 computer graphics animation package
Software.
to run that.
And the
Wow.
school didn't have that.
My school didn't have any of that, you know. But you could spend a lot of money on a souped up PC that can get you a little bit of, you know, some of that. You know, it wouldn't be the best, but it would be something. It would be the cheapest solution to get a computer graphics display. Yeah.
But your professor was able to get your lab.
Yeah. So I told him this is what I need. But you have to understand, like computers cost like 50 grand.
Yes.
know.
At that time.
Yeah, at that time, like 30. You'd probably need 30 grand for the computer and another 20 grand for the software.
Right.
Right. So if the university were to fund that, they would need a lab, which had like 20 at least, right?
Right.
But we wanted to do this small scale, right? So we only wanted to ask for 50 grand.
So one computer.
One computer. So it's a very selfish program. So I think me and my cousin knew that was what we were doing.
So what happened? You asked for it?
So I asked for it, and we got it.
Who funded it? The school, or was it
it was a
corporation?
Grant. It was a corporation,
Okay.
corporate
Okay.
grant. And so they were like, we proposed a project and stuff of what we were going to do. It was a very modest project, but then this is the cost of it. And to like a huge corporation, that's like nothing because they were donating millions.
Right.
So it was
right.
just like
Yeah.
line item.
So we needed something that won't get red flagged, and just give us the absolute minimum of what we need, and then we're set.
Okay.
So that was a very critical point in my life.
So you really find a way to make
yeah.
things happen.
Yeah.
You go
I
from
hustle
here.
hard. I hustle hard.
Wow.
And there was nobody to talk to. There's nobody to talk
So
to.
so the computer's there.
So the computer's there. I was able to get my own room. So I also asked my teacher if he can make me a part-time faculty, so I can get like special access. Yeah, to go in there,
You can just
go into the lab anytime.
have
and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was probably a very key moment in my development.
Is there anyone else who was sharing the computer?
No, of course not.
Oh my God.
He ordered it himself.
He did it for himself.
Well,
School? He did it for himself. Ask him for a grant now. He should give back to that school.
Okay, so you,
I gave back so many.
So
No.
You had the
But
computer solo for
you
about
cannot
2
share
years,
that
man.
computer. You cannot share that computer because rendering takes forever.
I remember that.
Yeah, rendering. So, like kids back then, in order to just see a shaded mode, would take like 15 minutes
Yeah.
Each frame.
each frame. No, not even you. When like how it is right now, when you would press a button and then you'd be working on shaded mode.
Yeah.
Just
I don't
having
see
one
it.
Just doing the
screen was
preview
like
was like-
just a preview was 15 minutes.
Wow.
We're
Yeah.
talking printing here.
Yeah, and we're not talking rendering. Rendering would be hours. So if you had like a minute or
Yeah.
a few seconds, that computer is already taken for like an entire week. So you needed, so I was bringing my own computer in that lab. So that was pretty much my man cave.
Oh, okay.
So I was bringing multiple computers. I had a lesser computer, so I would work on that one computer, and then I'd use a stronger computer to do the rendering.
So what happened from that lab then? How did it? Did you get a job from that afterwards, or, I mean, directly, or that just helped you get the experience?
So what you need to do in that lab is, what I need to do in that lab is learn the software, because now I can buy the manuals.
Yes.
I need the software that can render, and then the next thing is I need to get the render into a tape, because that was the next impossible task.
What's a tape?
A tape.
VHS.
VHS.
Like a Betamax or a VHS tape.
Okay.
So a lot of people right now,
What's a tape?
You can upload it to YouTube.
you can't, it's no YouTube.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then even if you gave the file, no one can run it because AVIs and QuickTime and
Right.
MPEG were not standard yet.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and then no one had the hardware because the codec wasn't built into the graphics cards
Right.
and the thing. So,
Yeah.
so even if I somehow emailed you, if you did have an email,
That could accept that could download it.
that could download it. If your internet could like take,
Be that
Yeah.
stable.
yeah, or like, yeah, because internet was dial-up back then.
Right. And that didn't use up your bandwidth.
Or didn't use up your only phone line
And bandwidth.
and bandwidth.
Oh yeah, remember if you're downloading, someone
So
picks up the line and says
Nerd.
hi, and then you have to start
Anyway,
again.
so-
Okay.
So
I apologize for Danz.
So you were saying.
yeah, so if you couldn't, so it was next to impossible to even show your demo tape
Unless you put it on
unless you
VHS.
put it in VHS. But the problem is, how do you get it to the VHS, right?
Mm.
The only way back then was to use a Betacam SB. So what that does is your computer would render one frame, which would take like, let's say, a day or maybe 5 hours, let's say,
Yeah.
one frame. And then that would be connected to the Betacam SB. And then, so once it finished rendering, the computer would order the Betacam SB to record that one frame. And it would wait again for another 5 hours and then record on the next frame.
Oh my gosh.
That's how you put it on tape. And the service to do that charges you per hour.
The Betacam SB, isn't that the hardware thing?
No, yeah, but do you own a Betacam SP?
Oh, you had to
So
rent
you have
it.
to rent it to a service that would do that.
Oh,
And they
God.
charge per hour.
Knowing full well it takes about 5 hours. So just
And then it would take an entire month.
Wow.
That's a good sign. Huh?
Yeah, that's how much it costs to be in the 3D.
No, but
industry.
this tells me that you were just really, really driven, and you really had a vision of where you needed, what you needed to do, and where you needed to be.
Yeah, so I had to make a lot of friends. People I don't know that that had connections to get that kind of equipment.
Okay.
But you got it, so end of the day.
Yeah, I don't want to tell you how I did that, but anyway, like yeah. So at the end of the day, and it was not easy. You know?
Yeah, I can
So
imagine.
those 2 years, what kind of output did you do?
So at the end of that, so I knew I had a timeline. Like my timeline was when I was going to graduate, which was
Yeah.
in probably in 2 years,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
So the goal was to create a demo tape because
Yeah.
that was going to be the most important thing that you would need to show whoever would want
To show the majors, for instance. That
Yeah.
How long was the video demo? Was your demo tape going to be
Very
like 10
short.
minutes, 5 minutes,
No way. It was in seconds.
seconds?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was probably I couldn't, I first of all I didn't pay to get that set. I had to figure out how to get that free.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's no way I'm paying an hour. Like how much?
Yeah,
costs,
that
right?
would be like a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that would be so expensive. I don't have money.
Okay. Well. Okay. Yeah.
So
Sounds like you had a little bit of money now because you have your side hustles.
yeah,
A little bit.
But all my money went into any money I had. I would put it in the computer.
So you had like a 5 second, or
Probably 20, if I had to guess.
no, it's probably like maybe like a 30-second.
Okay, so you had
Yeah.
like 30 seconds, and then you had to graduate, right?
Yeah, to graduate.
Okay, so you graduated, and you had like a 30-second tape. Then what happened?
So the significance of that tape is like we have a portfolio class where everyone like shows what they've done for the year and this is what they're going to use to apply and
Yeah.
everyone was showing like boards,
Oh, written.
yeah, like whatever their layouts, their paintings, their sculpture and stuff.
Right.
And
here you come.
and I was the first student in the university to show a 3D animated, fully rendered with music demo tape
on a TV.
on a TV.
Were anyone else on a TV? Anything else? No, you were the only one with a TV.
What was the reaction?
Yeah, the professor was like, "Holy shit!"
Oh, so you changed their minds.
Well, they were shocked because none of them can do that.
Right.
No one in school. Can
But
do
did you
that.
change their minds, or they say, "Oh,
I don't know if they changed my mind because after that I was just like, I'm gone. I'm out of here. I know you guys can do your own thing here, but
You can have the $50
Yeah.
computer.
yeah,
I'm
that's
outta
right.
here.
That thing's gone too. And so
All right, so you graduated then. And
I graduated. I was like,
What's
all
the
right,
first thing
now
you
the
did?
world is ready for me.
Right.
And I sent it out to like DreamWorks, Disney, Pixar, Lucas,
We're
all of
expecting,
these
like,
guys.
calls
And I'm just like waiting on the phone, ready for got my bags packed and ready to move.
It's also good that you were in LA, where that all these companies were all there at the same time.
Yeah, everyone was there. They're all ready for me.
I'm just
And
by
then-
the phone,
Yeah, by the phone. It's like, what's taking George? Like,
Lucas
he's
Sola.
probably having lunch right now.
Right.
And then a week passed. And
Another
then 2
week
weeks passed. And 3 weeks passed.
Did your-
and then it's a month.
Did your
I'm on my last demo tape that I've made copies for.
did your dad go like, see,
Exactly.
see? I told you.
And I was
Not
like,
listening, son.
No one's calling back.
All right,
You
and
know.
you did the follow-ups and all. Hey, man.
And then actually this is funny. And then my mom said there was someone who called. It was like this, there's this company that called. Its name's like Naughty Dog, and this was before PlayStation 1.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, this is.
Or maybe,
And then I was like,
Sounds like
well, since no one's applying, I might as well give it a shot. Yeah.
some push-ups before you went.
No, so I actually called and then I found out it was Naughty Dog and they were like trying to pitch me on a project that they're working on.
So they saw your tape.
So I submitted my tape to like Universal or Vivendi because
Yeah.
they were like a film company.
Events like
And then-
mother company.
Yeah. And so they they sent my tape to Naughty Dog. You know?
So they pass it on.
Yeah, they passed it on to Naughty
Okay.
Dog. And then, so I talked to Naughty Dog, and then they gave me a test, right? And so I took the test.
The test is like software, computer, and then you have
it's
to
like
render
doing,
something.
Doing textures.
Doing
stuff.
textures.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did the test, and I turned it in. Then I never heard back from him. So I also failed that. Yeah.
Really? Seriously?
Yeah.
You
I didn't get
you
it.
failed.
I failed Naughty Dog.
I thought you were gonna say that, and now that's how I ended up in Naughty Dog.
No, a knock and
No.
I also failed that test.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
Did you?
So then what happened?
Wait.
Wait,
Did
I got a question. What were you doing in those? What, you know, how are you making money and paying the bills? or
his
helping
side
your-
hustles.
I had
Still had your side hustles.
I had a side hustle. I was doing. I got this freelance job to do some web 3D.
Okay,
You know, so
so-
there was like a web game. There was like a web game that was actually by Sony. You know,
Oh.
it was a company that Sony hired to do like a. You know those Myst kind of games.
Oh yeah, the
Right.
interactive
So
walkthrough
you need
maze.
you need to model stuff in the
Yeah.
computer
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
We know.
You know,
Yeah.
those
They
are
don't know.
They have
They
like
don't know.
They don't know.
NYST is like 6 CDs.
Google it. Google it.
Yeah.
Google it.
Yeah.
Google it. We don't have time for that.
So
Finished it.
Oh, by the way, and then did you at any point your father say, "Why don't you just work for me, son? Come on, why don't you just work for me, son? Get some
well,
money."
I was actually like working in like also part time in his company.
Oh, so you were working
Yeah,
part-time.
yeah. So he got me into like the art department of the
So
company he's
you were,
working on.
you know,
Okay, so you had something. You had
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Some-
So in that company, I was actually I started working there as to a packing guy in the warehouse, and then I would be carrying boxes, going back and forth, and then I would like try to apply to the like tell the boss that hey, I kind of draw too, and maybe
Right
I
away,
can.
man.
You did-
Okay.
So you didn't regret your life choices while you were doing the mopping.
That's all they had,
I
so
guess
you know,
you gotta do what you gotta do.
gotta do what you gotta do.
Okay, so Naughty Dog doesn't call
Doesn't call me,
you.
and you know.
Then what
so-
happened? What was like your okay? What else do I have to do? What else can I do?
Yeah, I was just keep on applying, and just no one would take me.
So what was the big break, man? You couldn't be like packing.
Well, obviously you're here now, right?
Yeah. So what was that thing that happened from you
I
being,
think,
you know, packing?
well,
stuff?
the thing is, I was always applying to film companies. I was applying to special effects companies. I was applying to
Yeah,
those
SFX.
big houses,
Uh-huh.
animation houses. But what I didn't realize at that time, it was also like you know, I was just new and there was no information around. Was that those companies were actually like consolidating, and they were like laying
Downsizing.
off people, downsizing.
Downsizing.
Okay.
And games was a new area, and anyone in 3D effects doing Toy Story, doing Jurassic Park and all that, they didn't want to go into games because it's so low res. It's like an insult to them.
Oh.
Right? So like, I know 3D, but why am I going to do that? That's like super low. That's PlayStation 1.
Yeah.
So they're not going to go from like a 10 million polygon dinosaur that they have to redo with 10 polygons.
Like a Crash Bandicoot kind of
Exactly. So no one in film wanted to go there. That would be like really beneath.
like in this, yeah.
And that anyone that's in games were doing 2D. So they sort of weren't updated their skills. So they were like, they had 2D skills, but they don't know how to use 3D.
3D.
So that created like an opportunity for me.
A window for you, yeah.
Because I was that intersection.
You realized that.
I didn't realize that. that was the part where I just
It's a
walked in the
dramatic
door.
moment. And,
Yeah. No, like I said, like there was no.
So how did you know? Okay.
This was hindsight. Like trying to
So
analyze
so what happened? How did you get into your break? What was your break?
I was like already down on my life. I was just no one wants me. Like either they don't want to pay a lot for me, or
Sure.
because it was just really disappointing. And then my mom was going through the newspaper. You know what newspapers are? It's this big thing where you just and there's this classified ads, and you know what classified ads is.
Kind of.
You guys know what classified ads are?
The fish.
Okay, they
Yeah,
know.
so
They know.
there's
Groceries.
yeah, it's like
They wrap your
it's
groceries.
like when you're looking for a date and stuff, and there's like, that's the difference.
It's like Facebook jobs on paper.
Yeah, on paper. Yeah, this material
Comes up once a day.
Yeah.
once a day, every
You gotta
morning.
buy
Yeah.
it once a
It makes
day.
your fingers black and stuff.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
anyways, my mom saw an ad there, and it says Sega technical institute looking for game artists. But you need like 10 years experience, you need Silicon Graphics experience, you need to know Maya, you need to know Softimage, you need to know all of this, blah, blah, blah.
I have to ask, did you know those?
I did not know any of them.
Okay.
Because that was the $80,000 computer.
Okay.
Never had.
So I used the $30,000 computer.
Okay.
All right. So mom sees that.
Mom sees that and shows it to me. Hey, why don't you apply here? And I'm like, Mom, that's not me. I can't do any of that. And he's like, well, it's like you don't know until you try, right? And it's like it's that classic, like you don't know. Everyone else said no. What's another no, right? And I was like,
and plus, you've been being said no to for months already.
Yeah, but to me, it's just like, oh God, stop nagging me. That's
okay. So fine, whatever.
Yeah,
one
whatever.
more.
It's gonna be another. And you know what? I don't like games anyways.
Blasphemy!
No.
Oh my God! I'm offended.
No, so at that point, I was like not playing games. I was just so serious in zoning out on like this 3D. I want to do a dinosaur.
Okay.
I want to do some Toy Stories.
Fine. I forgive you.
You wanted
and
something
this is what Yeah, I wanted to do cool shit like that.
Okay.
Am I supposed to say that?
No.
That's okay. It's fine. This is YouTube.
They're all-
Who cares?
yeah, no
I don't care.
Okay, so you did apply. End of the day.
So I did apply. I sent it in. I was like, yeah.
Wait. So when you applied, did you write that you have I don't have this experience. I don't have this experience. I don't have this.
No.
But I want to apply anyway. Or did you?
Whatever I wrote in my resume, take it or leave it. You're not going to reply to me anyways. That's face value.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you just gave what you had. What you have is what you have.
So I packed up my resume, put my tape in, put it in a box, and then went to the post office, put a stamp on
Stamps.
it.
What are
And then
stamps?
it goes out there. Yeah. So, and then it takes a couple of weeks. Hopefully, it doesn't get destroyed or something.
No, it sits on it
sits on it somewhere. And I just wait. Yeah. So after that, like I did get a call, which was shocking.
How many weeks? 2 weeks?
Probably like a week.
A week.
Later.
From
Because it takes time for mail to go there. It's not like it doesn't teleport.
It's
and
from
then-
Sega.
Yeah, it actually gets there, and then the person that's actually have to unwrap it, and then take out the tape, and then put it in,
inside. Watch it.
put it in the
Watch
tape,
it.
and hopefully it doesn't
Eat itself.
up, and just turn on the TV and then watch it, right?
So you get a call from.
And then when
Sega,
my thing
right?
comes up, he actually has to write it down, like how to call
You
me,
got
right?
Pangilinan.
Yeah. And then he has to call me, and it has to ring on my beeper.
Oh, beeper.
Yeah, because there was no cell phones back then, right? And then so I have to like get off the bus and then go to a payphone and then put
Payphone.
payphone.
Payphone. You don't know, people don't think.
So lucky these days.
then you'd have to have a quarter.
Oh, you need money for.
You need money to call because you're
Real money.
You can't use $1 bill. You have to use a quarter.
You can't swipe your credit card.
Yeah, you have to use the actual
have to
exact
have
cone.
A quarter, and then
Yeah,
you put in, and then you call.
Okay, so you got a call.
This is like just dating everybody.
Yeah, right. You got a call.
Yeah.
So I got a call, and it was
Sega,
from
of course.
Sega.
All right.
And I thought they made a mistake. And then I was just I'm like, I was just shocked,
Okay.
because
What?
like, what?
You
I mean,
want me to
or
come-
you want to hire me as a janitor or something?
Because I got that experience.
I got a lot of experience for that.
Baby.
That's a 10-year experience right there.
For all the kids who don't know, Sega is the one who's making that movie that came out.
The Sonic.
The Sonic, they made Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yeah,
You guys know that?
coincidentally.
You know that? Okay.
Coincidentally, so I went to the interview, and they were saying that they were going to set up a
Studio.
studio in LA,
Where you live, which is great.
which is where I live, coincidentally, and it's actually near where I actually live.
So it's fantastic.
And the title would be Sonic the Hedgehog.
Oh my God, you worked on that.
Yeah, well, until they canceled it.
Well, but still, you the
So
very
it
first
was- I
one.
was just like,
You were in the very
So
first
you were
Sonic
on
the Hedgehog.
you were on
it wasn't the very first. It was for the Saturn.
Okay,
Yeah.
but still.
So they were looking for 3D artists to work on that title because most of the artists were 2D.
Okay,
So they
okay.
were trying to form a team. But Sega is in San Francisco. But the team that wanted to work on it wanted to be in LA.
But how does that work? Because they had all these qualifications. Why did they take you? Is it because your work
Yeah, so in the ad,
belied your
it said
experience?
10 years of this, 5 years of that.
Well, you always try to, ask for the highest
Ask,
one and
ask for the moon and see what you get.
Yeah. So, because typically ideally that's what you need.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or maybe they were so impressed with your demo tape, they're like, okay, this guy can do
They're
it.
probably desperate.
Yeah.
They didn't have anyone
Yeah.
because like my boss told me like, we had to show me a TV box and it's just filled with demo tapes.
Right.
They're the skeletons of the, and he said like, well, that's how much people have to go through
Wow.
to get to this.
Wow.
So you got hired.
So yeah, I was
Yeah,
I got hired. But I first I didn't believe it. I was like, this can't be happening.
What was your title?
It's computer artist. Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
you worked on Sonic. What were you doing at Sonic?
What?
What did you do at Sonic?
So
What did they
teams
do
were
to do?
teams were very small back then.
Okay.
So I was actually going to do animation,
Okay.
which by the way I've never taken an animation class in my life.
Uh-huh.
So I was like totally winging it, and I was also doing environment. So basically, you would pretty much do anything that was needed. The Saturn was a great machine. If you're only doing 2D. Yeah.
Okay,
If
okay.
you're doing 2D, because that's actually the story of it. Like Saturn was a pumped up Genesis machine.
Actually, yeah, I was a huge Sega fan while they made consoles.
Yeah, actually Sega had a lot of great games. I actually enjoyed, and I was actually very proud to be a Sega person back then.
Okay, so if you're very happy with them, why'd you leave?
no, we got laid off.
Oh, okay.
Because we,
So you would have stayed there forever.
yeah, we just
Probably.
How long did you have this job?
So when I did get this job, what happened? Yeah, it was probably about a year, and then so we were trying to figure out. Then that was the first time I actually got my own Silicon Graphics 80,000.
Okay, you can afford it now.
Your own workstation. Okay.
Yeah, well, no, I didn't buy it. This is the office gave it to me.
Okay.
Because I didn't know how to use any of the software.
Okay.
So I went in there and I told the boss, I was just very straight. I wasn't bullshitting. I go like, yeah, I'm pretty surprised you called back because I don't fit any of the qualifications you have. And he goes, well, it's your qualifications in that tape looks better than all those other tapes over there. So, you're the best shot we got, and we needed people now.
Okay.
Okay.
And so I was probably their last choice before they were like going to pack up and leave.
How many did they hire? One?
They hired 2 artists. It was only a team of 5.
So you were 5 out of that warehouse. That must felt pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, so you stayed
2 years?
So-
1 year?
So that was a time when Saturn came out, and then Naughty Dog set up Crash Bandicoot, and it totally destroyed us. Like the PlayStation just took over. At that point.
Yeah.
And then after a year, I think there was like you could.
You said Crash Bandicoot came out?
Yeah, well, Crash Bandicoot did come out already, and it was like making a killing.
Yeah.
And I think at that point Sega was like, all right, I don't think this is turning out pretty good.
They decided to go to software only, right?
Yeah, well, they still have the Dreamcast.
Oh, they were still
Right.
trying.
So they did the Dreamcast, and then, but like I think what happened was they said they were going to consolidate all of their development in Japan. So they pulled out all development in the U.S. They shut down all the Sega studios in the U.S. I think they just left one studio up in San Francisco, the main studio, but every satellite
Was
studio
closed.
was closed, and I was one of them.
So you're out of a job, now what?
Yeah, so I was out of the job. That was pretty depressing because it was like, it was.
You're getting your butt kicked by the other.
Yeah, it's like, damn, my luck's never. But my time in Sega was pretty critical because, that's when I'm in. I'm
Yes.
in now
Yeah.
because
You got a foot in the door.
I got foot in the door. I learned the right software. I learned the right software and the right machine.
Everything works in the business.
And then I figured out like what it is to make. Having experience is just incredible. Yeah.
I gotta share this story in Technomancer. Just a quick story. In Technomancer, we had this one guy who didn't finish college. He finished a 2-year course, And then when he applied with us, he forgot this paper, and he was apparently going to go with a call center because no company would hire him because he didn't finish college, the full one, just a 2-year course. But we hired him, and he was an amazing programmer. And a few years later, he lived all the way in Makati and would commute all the way to our office in Quezon City every single day because we were the only computer company that would give him a break, apparently. And then after a few years, he quit because he couldn't take the commute anymore. At that time, he was able to get into a job. I guess getting the experience, the first job, after that, it's easier.
Yeah.
Okay, so now what's the next step?
So now you have experience in the video game world.
No job, but you got
No
experience.
job. I was about to get laid off, and it was a scary time. So I had to start applying again.
You applied to Naughty Dog again?
Yeah. So
The company that rejected you?
You kind of knew people in the business by then, right? Or at least you know who the big players were.
Yeah, but it's still like a lot of people. It's very small teams, and a lot of people are still kind of like figuring out. And when layoffs happen, you don't see it. Like layoffs are like quick.
Yeah.
So you sort of figure it out. Like there's something going on, but you don't know. But it's my first job. Layoffs happen like some people are still on vacation, and then next thing these buses come in with HR people coming out. And then suddenly all these people in suits come in, and then they just round up all the employees into a big and then they tell them while everyone's in that conference room, they're already unplugging everyone's machines and just wiping out all the hard drives, and locking out everybody, and then everyone's being laid off. All of these people are here. They're going to process your papers. No one goes back to their tables except to pick up their stuff,
personal stuff,
and then goodbye.
Wow.
That was it.
Because I guess they don't want you to know because they don't want you to take anything or sabotage anything.
So
right.
like one in the movies, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's how it's done.
Okay.
In a big company. So for us, we didn't really know. We knew there was something happening, but it came pretty suddenly.
So you were laid off like that?
No, I wasn't laid off like that.
That's normal. That's normal.
That's a normal way.
That's normal.
Were you on vacation or something?
No. For us, we were kind of like a special team. And the CEO was the one who came by and said like things are going to come down.
But don't touch.
Yeah.
You're still laid off.
So that means your team must have been one of the higher performers or something.
Yeah, we're doing Sonic. So it was a very special group there.
Okay, so
even from Sega, you already.
Well, I don't know if it was because of me. It's probably because of my boss and the other guys. Because I'm just nobody. I'm just the guy they hired out from the street.
Okay.
But yeah, so.
So it did happen eventually.
It did happen, yeah. So I was applying, I was applying to Square. I was applying to Square Enix. They were doing
Final Fantasy.
By the way, Square Enix had an amazing office. They had an amazing office. They were right by the bay. It was like on top floor. They had a view of like sailboats, and everyone had their own room. It's really cool.
Right.
And then there's another company. I think I applied. It was a Sony company. They were doing. This game for the Sony Metreon, Metreon? That's in San Francisco. It's like their competition to GameWorks.
Okay, I don't know that.
Okay, anyway. So the thing there is that you're going to be working directly with Mobius. Do you know Mobius?
The artist?
The artist, yeah.
Of course.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah, so
yeah,
be working
of course, me too.
Yeah,
sure. Well, he's a good artist.
Me too.
So anyways, he's a really good artist.
He's excellent.
I like a Silver Surfer song. Anyway.
Is it like the vampire guy or something?
Morbius.
Yeah, that's Morbius.
I like that too.
So anyways, so that they had like a kick-ass office too and stuff. And then the third company, I decided to apply to Naughty Dog again.
But you didn't feel bitter?
So this is like your
No. To me, I don't take it personally. Like I would apply again to Pixar and all of that stuff. But I just, now that my experience is in games, I'm trying to apply to games. Right?
Okay.
Because I'm trying to leverage what I have.
So you go to Naughty Dog, you apply.
So I applied to Naughty Dog.
They give you a test again or something? How did it work out?
Can't remember. I think
called you back.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I applied again, and then I think I did take a test, and then I did come in. So they actually called me back, and then they interviewed me, and then they said they gave me an offer. You know,
How big was Naughty Dog at that
we were
time?
12
So you're like
12 people. So this was for
How many
Crash
artists?
so you're like
How many artists?
employee number 13 right here.
There was probably like 3 artists.
So 9 programmers. Oh wait, well 3 artists and none others.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's probably, that includes the CEO.
Yeah.
Okay.
The CEO, the 2 CEOs, and then there was probably like 2 more programmers.
And probably a couple testers, QA.
1 tester, IT guy.
13
and,
people.
So maybe 4, and a designer.
Were they? But they were a they were a bigger company back then because they already had made Crash Bandicoot.
No, that was the team that made Crash Bandicoot. It was 7 people.
I mean, bigger in the sense financially. They were like a higher in the echelon.
No, there was startup.
They were still
So
startups.
they were funded by Universal.
Okay, I gotta ask. Remember that graphic designer person that did that talk?
Yeah.
So did you when you went to Naughty Dog, did you start to exceed that?
Yes. So I already exceeded that.
Way before.
All right, so that's good then.
Yeah, that's good. That's
So
good.
you kind of justified all of those.
Yeah.
decisions that you made. Okay.
So when it came
Fantastic.
in, I was already like, okay, great. At least this is the bottom level.
Yeah, you kind of broke that ceiling.
Yeah, broke that ceiling,
That's
and then now,
fantastic.
yeah. So that was a good sign, you know. And I was enjoying my work. It was
Yes.
great.
Which is
Very
good.
stressful, but it was, you know,
You liked that, so
I liked it.
He must like it because he's been there for how many years now?
23 years.
Wow, you must really love
Well,
Naughty
there was
Dog.
there was no reason to leave because we were.
did you get all the support you wanted and all the access to the hardware that you needed to create whatever you needed to do? What did they give?
Oh no! Yeah, it was the same. That was just a standard. What everyone got.
Okay.
Yeah, everyone, and you go to the computer graphics industry. That's a standard workstation you would get.
But Naughty Dog is like broken out. It's like I mean, you're consistent. You have made different video games, different IPs, and they're all like hits.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't quit.
Why do you think? Why do you think Naughty Dog? They seem to be a hit
What's
maker.
the formula for success of Naughty Dog?
Well, I don't know. It's a different topic. You know?
Is it you, Eric?
Is it you, Eric?
It's definitely not me. But it's
So-
you know, I think Naughty Dog has
So,
a
Eric,
lot of ownership. You know, gives a lot of ownership to
Mhm.
people, and
So management style.
yeah, it's a management style. I think it's a cultural thing because it's not like a sweatshop or it's not like a conveyor belt
So you
fashion.
You
It's
had
very
a lot of inputs in the.
there's a lot of input. There's a lot of
It's more collaborative. Sounds like.
collaborative, and it's also I think the biggest thing is that there's a lot of ownership. Ownership is the key word on Naughty Dog because we give you a chunk of the game,
Okay.
and you and whoever you're collaborating with, like the stakeholders,
Yeah.
are responsible for that. And so that's your piece of the game.
It's your
And-
responsibility.
Yeah, it's your responsibility. There's a lot of accountability.
At what point did you tell your dad? See? At what point? Did that ever
I don't
happen?
know, when I started eating good. Taking them out to like
When you were in Sega? Did it happen when you were in Sega?
Yeah,
At that
same.
moment.
Because I was already at the point where, you know,
You exceeded that.
that exceeded what I've targeted, you know, like
Okay.
and you know, I've also exceeded their salaries.
Like, see that their salaries combined.
Yeah.
Oh, that must have been.
So,
See, Dad? See?
yeah, so you're wrong. No, so
I'm sure he did that to you when you were mopping the floor. The
Yeah.
father probably went by and said,
Yeah. Or when I got that porn
So they're not a porn company.
Yes, yeah. Or
It looks like it's very vivid in your memory. The time that you had to commute to a different school 4 hours each way, do the part-time hustle your own school to get the computer in your lab.
Yeah.
And then,
Well, it just highlights, like, I keep on thinking, you know, everyone else has cars here except me.
So-
you know?
so what happened when the first time you looked in your bank account and saw the one with 6 zeros after it? No, is it 6? Yeah, 6 zeros.
Pesos.
Did that?
No.
How did that blow your mind?
When did you know? So how long have you been at Naughty Dog? 23 years?
Mm.
When did you know that you made it? When was that feeling That
Yeah. When was your made it moment?
How did you know that? Yeah, this is it. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
When was your made it moment?
It's moment.
Oh, whatever.
I don't know. To me, it's the, like I always work like I'm gonna get fired the next day.
Okay. Well,
And to me, that's how you keep the fire going. You can't take anything for granted.
So for you, you've never really made it.
No, I'm never happy. That's why not. So I am happy. It's just that never satisfied at that.
so it's always like day one for you.
Yeah, it's always day one for me because like I joke around with my leads about this. I'd say like I always work like I'm gonna get fired in 2 days. So I always have to work super hard every day, make every day count. And I kind of get used to that kind of stress, when you're in a high pressure environment all the time.
Speaking of working super hard, there's a reputation in the gaming industry that their workload is like inhuman.
Yeah.
Is that fair? Is that
It's
accurate?
not fair. Well, hot topic.
Oh, okay, never mind. Sure,
Yeah, but,
let's talk
I
about
just wanna say,
flowers.
No, we don't like that. We don't like that, and there's a lot of argument about it's a management problem because they don't plan and scope properly and schedule properly. But the argument also against that is that like if you're a company that is always at the cutting edge and you're always going to break the barriers and try things that no one else tries and risk things that no one else would risk and not put out cookie cutter games, you're going to make mistakes, and those mistakes is going to cause schedule problems. And it's really hard to scope that.
Yeah.
And
You can't plan
that's
for
the thing.
this.
You can't plan for things when you're always breaking the mold.
Gotcha.
Like, because there's no schedule to that. If you want to create a new experience and you want to exceed expectations,
Yes.
there's going to be a price for mistakes, and you can't plan for that.
But you also learn from those mistakes.
You always learn for it, but the situation is always different. Because if the situation is not different, then you're in a cookie cutter situation,
Exactly.
right?
If you're just
So
churning out games.
yeah, if you're just turning out games, you have a formula, you have this and that. There's so many factors in game creation that that is hard to account for.
And then plus you make it, and then sometimes it's like, oh, this is a bad idea.
Well,
you
not only
Go in a
that,
different
it's-
direction.
Well, how do you know it's a bad idea? You test it, right?
Yeah.
And so you have to go through the process of 0 to 100, test it, and see if it works.
Yeah.
And if the results of the test results is that it's not fun, are you going to ship that? No.
Well,
You're
you
gonna have
shouldn't.
to change
You
it,
shouldn't.
right?
Yeah.
What does that mean? So that's going to add time if you're going to have to change that.
So you did
right?
all of that testing. You're saying you did
We
all
always do
that. You
testing.
got to make sure.
The game
Gamers
is
have-
bigger than any of us, right? It's bigger than you, me. No one is going to make a decision whether I'm not going to change this or not. It is the decision of the players.
Okay.
If the players say it sucks, you have
gotta
to change
figure-
it.
You got to
You
ask
have to
them, why
fix it.
does it suck? But you got to fix that.
Yeah, you got to fix that, and that's going to cause schedule. problems,
Gotcha.
right?
Gotcha.
That's
And sometimes you
people
don't.
don't understand that, right? People don't understand.
But
They-
while all of that's happening, all this testing, you still have a deadline.
Well, that's
you?
that's why there's a crunch, because
That's why
sometimes
there's a
the
lot.
deadline doesn't move.
It doesn't move, right?
Because that-
holiday 2005, for instance. and
Yeah,
it's still
the deadline doesn't move. You can argue to your publisher, to your head company, if it should move, but that also requires budget, right?
Yeah.
Right.
If the company is going to approve that budget.
Yeah.
If,
So-
And that's why some games they release when their game sucks, because
And they realize,
the main
okay,
company
it's-
says, no, we need to release this on this
Yeah.
fiscal year.
Because all the
We need to
marketing
hit
is
the marketing.
allowed for-
Yeah, we already bought all the TV spots.
Yeah.
Right.
It's important that we hit that, so it's going to go out. But if you're in a position where if you release this, it's going to ruin the IP.
Right.
It's going to ruin the company name. You're going to have to make that choice not to release it. And that, unfortunately, causes crunch.
So it looks like it's just the nature of an industry. Just because you're cutting edge, you're trying out all these new things. I guess what you're saying is, if you want something more predictable, more reliable, you can go to another go. I mean, you should just know what you're going into. It sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things. If you really want to prioritize crunch, like do not crunch, then you have to be willing to make cuts.
Yes.
You know,
And Naughty Dog is not willing to. That's why you get number one games.
You kind of like balance that, like, you know, and it to us it's just a decision. Like, we want to make the best game possible.
Gotcha.
And you know, there is a human cost, and we try to we try to put more people in there so that it lessens the crunch. You know, and we do take stats of like how long is it going to take this person, if it's healthy, if it's going to be damaging. You know, we ask them if you can do it or not. And then we even stop people from working too hard, even if they want to. You know, you have to be responsible as a man. You have to protect the workers from themselves sometimes. You know.
Okay.
And so for us, yeah, it is a priority to solve. And then we try to hire enough people. Or my thing is, I even overhire to make sure that
we have enough buffer.
Yeah, we have a buffer. But unfortunately, these crunches just go on.
But they still happen, right?
It still happens. It still happens. But it's just because.
You can try and minimize them, I guess.
Yeah, we can try to minimize them, but it's hard to predict where it's going to come from.
You gotta guess what the gamer likes. And nobody knows that until they actually try it.
Yeah, because the problem could be tech. Tech's not ready. The problem could be the story. The story was not ready. The problem could be animation. Animation, didn't come in or something like that. Okay.
So your stories always inspired me. That's why I really normally we interview people who are business owners, but I mean you way more than most businesses, and plus I think your story is like very inspiring, especially to all those small business graphic artists, web designers, and wondering, is this business? Can this business be profitable? And the animators?
Yeah.
Well, I guess it can.
For me, the biggest takeout here is that Erick, our friend Erick here, had always the motivation, the grit to pursue what you really wanted.
Yeah, I did not realize.
Paid off at the end.
I did not realize you. I wouldn't have done that.
I didn't realize you.
This is the stuff I can only say in camera.
I don't think I would have done that. I don't think I could have done that.
Yeah, well, that's good because you gotta. You can have all of the tools, you can have all of the friends.
Yeah.
But if you don't have what it takes inside to succeed, you don't have that drive.
Well, it's like you can't just make excuses,
That's
I guess,
right.
because like in my case when I was there were so many reasons why I could have just like, I can't do this because I don't have a computer. I can't do this because I don't know anyone. I don't know how to do it.
Right.
I have no manuals.
Right.
I have no money. And everyone was telling me not to do it.
Yeah, all of them were.
Yeah, all of them was telling me not to. My
teachers,
teachers, my parents,
not
my
just
friends.
that. The movie artists, right? They say, "Oh, games, oh."
Yeah, everyone was just going away from it, and I think it's just that clear vision of what I want to do, and you stick to it because there's nothing else you can do anyways.
Yeah.
And then so burn the ships, commit to it, and I guess
Die trying.
Yeah, I guess the biggest thing too is that even if you do have the vision, even if you do have the motivation to do it, you still need to do the work to prepare yourself, because that's the second thing that I was lucky to do is you have to, even if you put yourself in that right time and right place, but you have nothing to show, then you're screwed too.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not enough to have the vision and it's not enough to have the passion. You also have to put in the work.
Yeah.
And the work
And you did.
was like, I had to come up with that demo tape.
The preparation.
You have to take classes. You have to respect the foundation classes.
That's right.
You have to go back to art and like actually be a good artist to move forward rather than just studying computers. And I was just fortunate that all of that investment in the beginning paid off when I was at that moment to take that call.
Right. So you built a strong core.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much, Erick.
Thank you,
and
guys.
maybe we'll have a follow-up next when you become the owner of your own gaming studio, which no, it will never happen. Right? He's too loyal to Naughty Dog. What am I saying? That is blasphemy. So thank you.
Thank you.
Nothing. Thank you,
I
everyone.
didn't say that before, but now I'm saying it.
Thanks, Erick.
All right.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Folks.